Hello everyone. This is the freshest episode of Present Perfect podcast. And today with me I have Theresa. Hi Theresa. She is a soft skills expert with the emphasis, with the focus on communication.
Nice to meet you, and thanks that I'm able to be here today with you doing the podcast. Originally I'm from north of Italy, and I already studied psychology, so that was always a focus and a direction. And working then afterwards also in parallel in a tech company, so also related to that. And I really love to combine this both expertise in the area. I saw that a lot of companies are lacking of this experience, and a lot of the projects fail due to that. And based on that, together with Sophie, my co-founder, I decided we need to create something on the market, and that's how Lemony, the Soft Skill Academy, was born 3 years ago.
Congratulations.
Soft skills are really broad, so I think the main topic that's asked from a lot of clients when they reach out to us is communication. It's quite a broad field, right? So it's about feedback, giving, for example, how you communicate, how you receive feedback, and the most important topic that everyone somehow needs, right?
You practice and teach communication in a corporate environment. Is it much different from the social and personal communication?
I would say so, because often people are two different personalities, right? But what I learned is often also if you teach people in their work environment, they take a lot of that also back home. So also their relation get better. So at the end, it's always communication on both sides, right?
Many people think that communication is about what you say. But I guess it is also about how you say things, your tone, your gestures, body language. How much of the communication, in your perspective, is the verbal one, so what I say, versus how I say?
Now, everyone heard maybe so far of the iceberg model. There's just at top what we really hear, so also how we are now talking, and a lot is hidden below, right? That's something that we can learn and to better understand each other. I realized when we have a different language, then you look much more also on the gesture, on how the movement is, and maybe match it also with your experience based on, okay, why is he or she doing this movement?
It's actually very interesting. I did not think of that if you speak the language that is your second language, then you pay more attention to the gestures and so. Do you also see the differences in communication, for instance, for different genders?
Yes, definitely. We are opening up a really big topic. On one side, when we are talking also about genders, it's also the intercultural part that needs to be taken into consideration. For example, I'm from North Italy, so we speak there in that area. It's a bit like in Switzerland, also German, Romance, and Italian. And then I was living in Austria and Germany and now in Switzerland. And so these intercultural differences, and on top then also the gender part is like confusing sometimes. If you think it's maybe German and everyone speaks the same language, the intercultural part is really different.
Do you have some examples, maybe some fun stories?
One example is directness.
For example, you would say in German working culture, feedback would be given like, you did a bad job, period. Something like this level of directness.
I wouldn't put it that way, but I would say it more, if I have the feeling something is not working, then I come straight forward to you and tell you, look, that's not working, we need to talk about it. How I'm used to it, for example, in my culture, it's more like you speak a lot around of the topic, and at the end you get to the same point.
You mean
right?
like the sandwich first?
Exactly.
Something
it takes a bit more time to get
You are
there.
excellent, amazing. There's just one little thing we could maybe consider improving like this.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes, of course, this can be misunderstood, right?
How do you suggest then people navigate when there is obviously feeling that people want to achieve the same goal in the end, but the communication style is very different. As you said, the intercultural aspects, directness, indirectness. So let's say if I am coming from the more direct culture, how would I communicate in such a way that I'm still authentically myself, but that I'm not perceived as too harsh or impolite?
What worked really well for me is on one side to always think positively about every situation and every person. I start every relationship, every communication with a positive intent. So that means also if you have the feeling there is some misunderstanding, don't take too many assumptions. Just ask. For example, if you need feedback or a working style, ask how you want to get feedback or how would it work best for you to collaborate with me. And I think that will change so much because it shows also that you respect the other person and the style of working and how they act, and you're listening, right?
Yes, exactly. I think it's a very good point. Does this also apply when we're talking about communication between different generations?
And we come again back to the directness with whole social media and all the messaging services, specifically also the younger generation. We write really short messages, really on the point. It's ineffective if you write that long mails. In the older generation, that can be perceived as unpolite, unprofessional. So there is this clash, right? Just sit together and talk about how you want to communicate with each other.
I will then ask a nasty question that I didn't prepare you for. Let's say that I have a team member who is communicating in a way that is too friendly, too friendly for my taste, for the professional setting, from like traditional professional setting, let's say too many emojis or something like this. I think this is kind of a stereotypical way the media portrays the Gen Z communication in the corporate work. How can I tell the colleague that I don't like it or that it should change? Taking into account, I still want to have a good working relationship with them. I don't want to push them far away. Don't want to make them feel offended.
I think the first question would also be, what exactly is triggering you? So maybe it's because you have the feeling there is not enough distance, right? Because you write more in private that way and not in a business context. So I think first you always need to get clarity why you are feeling that way, because then you can also approach the other person. The clearer you are why you are feeling that way, the clearer you communicate and the better the other person can understand it. The best way is to keep always the message on yourself, how you are feeling, not telling like blaming, but telling, look, when you write that much emojis, that's how I'm feeling, or that's what this is leading to.
I agree with you on this point, which leads me to the other. What to do with the quantity of communication that we have nowadays? I think just for all my projects, my work, I use at least 5 different communication channels because everyone feels more connected to one or the other channel of communication. So I do have the Telegram notifications, email notifications, WhatsApp notifications, Slack messages, Discord channel messages. How do I not drawn myself in all of that?
I see that also a lot in my work. This sheer volume also of digital communication, I think it just changed the game, and specifically also for women, right? Because I think there is a subconscious pressure to be more agreeable and also add a lot of softwares in our communication. I'm leading also a team with like younger generation and also women, and they often use words like, I just wanted to follow up, or sorry to bother you. And I think that's also something that leads to their message being read, or also to a lot of miscommunication, and you don't get this authority that you maybe need in that moment. I think that we shouldn't waste time with all these unnecessary softeners.
So instead of saying, I'm so sorry to bother you, I have this idea that I want to share with you, you will just say, right, proposal, 2 points, or semicolon, and just say what you actually want to say in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Be really precise and clear what you want.
Do you notice something specific in terms of corporate communication in Swiss context, or even more precisely, Zurich context?
What I have found really interesting also regarding communication differences, it's pauses. When I was working in Germany in sales, and then you do also like cold calling, normally you call someone and say like, hi Xenia, here's Theresa, I want to offer you blah, blah, blah. And then you just start, right? And my experience was that, at least in the Swiss German part, that's rude. You call someone and say, hi, I'm Theresa. Then the other say, hi, I'm Xenia. So you give the other person also enough time to react, and then also ask for permission. And
do you need
right?
a small talk as well?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. And I like it, to be honest, because the communication is more on one level. I think a lot of people are afraid of this silentness in professional communication. So we are really good at asking like the first question. And then often we just move too fast without giving the other person some time and asking then an explicit question based on the first question. So that means that you give the other person not just the feeling I'm listening to you, but I'm really genuinely interested in what you are saying, right? And that leads then directly to the next step, that you get respect from the other person. Look.
So when I'm adding 1 + 1 in this conversation, it looks like you would advise to substitute the softeners with the meaningful, more personal exchange. Okay.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there is also this paradox that we prepare, in terms of communication, the most to PowerPoint presentations or just presentations nowadays, while I guess the most meaningful communication happens outside of the presentations, but in those micro interactions on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Would you agree with this?
Yes, definitely. The one underrated skill that I highlight, it's the art of follow-up questions.
How do I come up with the follow-up questions that really get to the point and get to the person?
Often you can just ask things that you are really interested about, right? So often if the other person, let's say you talk about sport or what you did over the weekend, that really fulfilled you. So you can see its passion behind. If you open up a bit, share something, also the other person is willing to open up. And then you can go to the next steps.
Would you say, in terms of the topics, there are also differences in what is considered to be an appropriate taboo topic in the Swiss context versus other cultural contexts?
I heard a lot about that. Swiss don't want to talk about money, for example, or what they earn. I think also that's changing a bit from a woman perspective. I always share that part also with my friends.
I think the conversation about salaries is actually very important to combat this the pay gap.
Yeah.
And maybe not even between genders, but even between the team members, because I know quite often happens that at some point in the team, these things get disclosed, even if it is a taboo topic in Switzerland. That's also, in my experience, completely true. And then when you see a big gap, or considerable gap, then there starts to be this little bit of the seed of negativity in the team and suspicion, and a little bit the persistent feeling that something is wrong.
One of my friends really felt like she's just earning too less. At one point, she found out, where she stands, and it was like she was more on the top compared to the rest. She was like, all that feeling were kind of unnecessary.
Then maybe on a slightly different topic, What would you say are the most common patterns that you yourself detected and saw how women act against their own interest in terms of communication?
That also took some time, so over the years until I really learned it. And it's really the heck about ultimate self-care. Put yourself always at the first place. And most leaders with whom I communicate try to communicate fast, right? But it's not about fast, right? It's about smart. And I think the smartness comes when the attention takes place, because we have so many different areas how we can communicate with all the tools that we have now in place. That's often sheer not possible to have the attention 100% at one topic, right? But that leads also to that you lose your authenticity. I created, I would say, like 3 rules that helps me through to this communication differences and also balancing like different lives. One part is this radical non-negotiation part. I treat my well-being. For example, you don't reschedule a CEO call, right? So why you're scheduling your health? And it's just a sentence, but in practice, what I started, and I blocked me time in my work schedule. And for example, Tuesdays at 5, I love to go to spinning class. It sends also a powerful message to your team that it's fine to have your boundaries, and it's also a sign of strength and not weakness. And also other colleagues then started to block, for example, 1 hour kid time.
I really love that you make this emphasis on putting the boundaries, because this is also exactly the part about communication to others, and that you, as you said, you prioritize your well-being, because in the end, it is for everyone's benefit when you have the well-being, and it is a sustainable choice, of course.
Yeah.
Most of your clients are obviously corporate companies. When they come to you and ask for the trainings in communication, do you think it happens mainly because they already have a problem and they are coming to you and asking, please help us solve this particular thing about communication? Or generally because they feel it's trendy and maybe they can improve because you can always improve?
It's really everything.
Do you also see the correlation between how much a company invests into L&D, including the soft skills, of course, and the retention of employees and general happiness level at the workplace?
If maybe currently the situation in the company is not best regarding revenue, that then often that's the first thing that will be cut.
Okay, so it's the opposite. Right? When company invests into L&D, that's because they are doing good already.
Normally, yes. Or they really understood that on the long run, if you want to keep the advantage, to keep top talent, we need to offer also this type of trainings.
What would you say are top 3 most common communication mistakes that you encounter? Or maybe let me not call it mistakes, but 3 things that usually are on the way of good, clear communication.
On one side, that everyone grew up with certain values and then they are not matching. So that's the first thing. And to really understand first, why does it trigger myself? So you get to know also about your values. Why am I feeling that way? Why it's important for me?
I really am curious about the negotiations. Let's say you're a woman who needs to learn how to negotiate.
The first step, you really need to know with whom you are negotiating. So what's their interest? At what stage are they? So what did they experience so far? And what's their intent? And you need also to find out, how is your relationship? It's more like short term. So I want to achieve certain goals. Often it's easier to find compromises because we are interested to collaborate long term.
So when I think that we are going to collaborate for a long term, I should be more willing to compromise.
When you want to renegotiate your salary, for example. It's a topic that everyone was already all was involved at least once in their life.
Hopefully.
Or if not, then I suggest negotiation. You can only do if you know, okay, both parts are willing long term or also have the same understanding and positive feeling for each other.
If you feel that there is a discrepancy in that,
you need then to think about, okay, do I want to even stay long term there? Like, how big is this discrepancy? Maybe that's not possible right now, but maybe to a later stage. The one thing that triggers a lot of people with whom I'm talking, often you get something promised and then you talk about it in half a year and no one knows about it. So after negotiation and also during it, take notes, write everything down, and write also an email with what we discussed and let it confirm by the other person.
Put the evidence in writing. That would also be my advice as a former lawyer. Yes.
Because it's not just from the lawyer perspective, but really that everyone has then the same understanding. Because sometimes, and maybe there was a misunderstanding, and it's fine, right? But you find it out at least when you summarize it and it can say, yeah, I meant this different, then you adjust and it's fine.
Absolutely, and maybe not even as a point of defense, but even to make sure that you're both on the same page. And I'm very curious about your sales background. I guess everything that we do in communication is something about sales, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Because you have a goal in mind. You want a person to do something or be open to discuss about something. Do you have some tricks from your sales experience that you then moved to communication?
I mean, started sales 1 decade ago and started really like with this classic sales, phone calling, etc. Also going from door to door, and there you find out so much about yourself, and I think that's exactly how it's feeling all the time, because you work with people, you don't know how they react,
and let's say that the conversation doesn't go well. Is there still a possibility to flip the egg when I feel like it's not going anywhere nice?
I think that really depends where you want to go, right? You need to know before, okay, what do I need to discuss? What information to have after this call?
Would you say it's also about having the counter proposals or plan B, plan C, plan D in case my plan A doesn't work out?
Yeah. If it's maybe not working at the first step, take all the learnings out of it. Why didn't it work well? And then for the second attempt, try to add everything there that will help you maybe succeed in that direction where you want to go.
What would be your suggestions for networking? Because I think this is something that we hear more and more about, how important it is to do the right networking. And not only, I don't mean within one team or within the company where you're working, but more broadly with people in your industry or maybe also outside your industry. I see so many new communities popping up here and there. I also have this study that 80% of the jobs are found through networking, and also that you are more likely to achieve your career goals if you're surrounded by the people who have similar goals or, let's say, similar mindsets as well. So how do I do networking in such a way that it doesn't feel awkward, doesn't feel like a transactional relationship?
Yeah, I think it's general interest, right? To really find out at the sheer amount of option that you have on the market, doing some research and find out, okay, what network would match exactly with what I'm looking for, and maybe also with the mentality of the people that are in there. Often you only find it out when you just go there once and then you feel the vibe, right? I mainly work with LinkedIn because I think that's really a cool tool also to see what's going on, because people are posting, so you're also up to date and know some events. And then just start with the first event, check it out if it's matching, find people there and tell them exactly what you are looking for, right? Often we are not clear in that, and if we are not clear with ourselves, how should other people know? And just tell them For example, I looking for new clients. That's my product. What do you think about it? So being direct.
I actually love this one because quite often I think, as you were saying, people are too shy to sell something. And when they're coming to a networking event because they want to sell something, I think it is absolutely makes sense to be direct about it. But also, I guess, not to limit yourself only to that one goal. So how would you then present yourself in such a way that you show that you have something to sell, but there is also another route that is not involving the product you're selling. You're genuinely interested in the person and not only to sell it, to sell things.
I think that leads a bit back to the region that you need, if you have a product, that you need to know also your product market fit. So who exactly is my target group? And to find out exactly that, you need to reach out to people and first ask what you think about it. Would it be something that you buy? Why not? Why yes? From Lemony perspective, we do that a lot to get like really market research and to adapt also our product based on that. But also to tell why are we doing it, right? And we developed Lemony because based on our own needs, right? So we experience a lot of projects failing, and we could have done such small things together with the L&D, but it was just not possible.
Can you give me an example without the names?
I mean, for example, if you work with international projects, right? Project teams all around the world. Often is like one who is like steering the whole project, so the project manages itself, and this person needs to lead straight the process and also the whole people. So it's a lot of skills like timeline. You need to know who needs to do what at what time and also lead in that direction a day. For example, this project manager doesn't have like the experience yet to lead a really senior client. So this senior client would have needed someone who gives them the feel, look, I know exactly what's going on. That's how we go, trust the process. And now we are following this, trust me. And this was not happening, right? So the whole team was like jungling around because the expectation was so high and they didn't know exactly what to do. And at the end, of course, then the project manager was in the spotlight of failing. And for example, they are also training in the direction, how do I negotiate? How do I communicate with such also difficult clients? There's one method I love a lot. It's called Stinky Fish from Hyper Island. And the idea behind is that you as a team sit together and write anonymously all the stinky fish, so all the problems that are already there or could arise down, and then you share them all together.
I've never heard of this method, but I think it actually has a big potential to really work well.
Because I have really good experience with it so
because
far.
then it's not just one person who looks like is complaining.
Exactly, yeah.
But it is everyone sharing what they think. Yeah. Do you have some other methods or tips you would like to share?
In regards of better communication, if you start a new project, bring a lot of different people together to really bring them to the table and make with them also not just this introduction, who I am, what I have done, what's my experience, and what's now my role in this project, but to get to know each other a bit better. So not just with the weeklies, but also really highlight how we can work best together, what's like my strength, how I would love to work with all of you. So this groundwork that we normally never do in such projects.
At the same time, if you have a problem and you know you can solve it, then it can be to your advantage to have a problem in the first place, because then you can say, look, I know how to do it. And overcoming something as a team, I think that's exactly what is building a team. Theresa, I saw on the Lemony website that you have immense amount of different trainings. So I assume there is, of course, different topics, different issues, or different improvement points. What are the top 5 most popular trainings that you have?
So it's, I think, around 90 trainings. So we grew with our clients. So based on the needs from the employees. We then developed additional trainings. And it's definitely the huge communication bundle that's like working all the time. We developed now a training for specific also leaders, where you can become a leader in 100 days. And for like every person, where you really find out the standard strength and weakness, what we heard, but really going deeper, who I want to be as a leader, what's really matching with your personality, right? Because often we say also, how do I find the perfect job that matches exactly what I need? And often it's like simple questions. For example, how do you want to get dressed to your office, right? If I never were like suit more relaxed, but I need to do that in order to become that job, maybe I will do it for a certain period of time, but then afterwards, sometimes it's not matching anymore with my values. I'm a complete fan when there is something not going well, immediately communicate it and find the time for it, because it's often much more difficult to discuss something when it was 3 months.
And in terms of the negative feedback then, what would be your advice on both sides to somebody who is receiving negative feedback, how not to take it personally, how not to get too affected by it? Because, of course, it is easier to say than to do. Or the opposite side, when you're giving a negative feedback, how to give it in such a way that is actually result-oriented?
I think on the one side, you really need to identify, why do I want to give that feedback? Is it something like personal? Can we change that somehow? If it's more related to a company level, maybe you have also like your values, so that's like aligned with the company and this person is maybe not matching with it, then it's also quite clear that you can state, look, that our regulation, that's how we want to work, and it's not aligned with where we want to go, how we can solve it together. So really asking one by one, and together afterwards in a session, all of the three. And then making really a clear plan together, how we can solve that, and also check in, are we achieving that? We need to solve that.
So it's us against the problem.
Exactly. So it's a different messaging, right?
It is. Theresa, one final question. What would be one message, only one message, that you want to bring across for today's podcast?
Know yourself. Know why you're doing certain things or why you need it. When you don't feel good about things, reflect why it's the case. Then it's much more easier to go out and tell that also of the people and get the understanding then also for it.
Thank you, Theresa. It was great talking to you.
Thank you too.